Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night just to use the bathroom and then struggled to fall back asleep, or looked at your blood test and noticed your kidney numbers were slightly off but were told not to worry? Yet I'm Dr. Johnny, and here's the urgent truth most people don't hear soon enough. Your kidneys can be quietly failing long before you feel sick. They don't scream. They don't cause sharp pain. They simply weaken slowly, silently, until the damage becomes hard to reverse. And that's what makes this so dangerous. By the time many people realize something is wrong, their kidneys have already been under stress for years. But here's the part that gives you power. What you do in the first hours of your morning can either add pressure to your kidneys or give them the support they desperately need to recover. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 specific fruits you should eat in the morning that research has linked to lower inflammation, better detox support, and long-term kidney protection when eaten the right way and at the right time. And I want you to stay with me until the end, because the final fruit on this list is something millions of Americans eat almost every day. Yet almost no one realizes how powerful it can be for kidney health, or how easily it can be eaten the wrong way. I want to start this part with something that surprises almost everyone I talk to. Because when most people hear the words kidney-friendly food, red grapes are usually the last thing they think about. Too sweet, too much sugar, too risky. That's exactly what I believed myself until I saw what happened to one of my patients. A few years ago, a man in his early 60s came into my clinic with declining kidney function. His numbers weren't catastrophic yet, but they were moving in the wrong direction fast. He was doing what many people do, cutting protein, avoiding salt, drinking more water. On paper, everything looked right, but his labs kept worsening. Then one day, almost casually, he mentioned something he had removed from his diet: red grapes. He had read online that fruit sugar was hard on the kidneys, so he stopped eating them entirely. That's when a light went on for me. Here's the part most people don't realize: red grapes aren't just fruit, they're biochemical tools. Red grapes are one of the richest natural sources of resveratrol, a polyphenol that has been extensively studied for its effects on inflammation, oxidative stress, and blood vessel health. And your kidneys, they are extremely sensitive to all 3 of those factors. Scientifically speaking, chronic kidney decline is driven less by protein intake than by persistent microinflammation and oxidative damage inside the nephrons, the tiny filtering units of the kidney. Resveratrol directly targets this process. Multiple studies have shown that resveratrol can reduce inflammatory markers, improve endothelial function, and protect kidney tissue from oxidative stress, especially in aging adults and people with metabolic stress. In animal models of kidney injury, resveratrol significantly slowed the progression of renal damage. That's not folklore. That's peer-reviewed science. Now here's where most people get it wrong. They hear grapes are good, and they either eat way too many or they avoid them completely out of fear. Both are mistakes. The benefit comes from dose and timing, not excess. For most adults over 50, a small handful of red grapes eaten earlier in the day or paired with a light meal delivers enough resveratrol to activate protective pathways without spiking blood sugar or overloading the kidneys. You don't need a bowl. You don't need juice. You need intention. I tell my patients this: think of red grapes like medicine, not dessert. When used correctly, they support kidney blood flow, calm inflammation, and reduce the silent stress that slowly damages renal tissue over years. And here's something even more important. Red grapes don't work in isolation. They act as a primer. They make your kidneys more responsive to the foods and habits that come next. When inflammation drops, the kidneys filter more efficiently. When blood vessels relax, waste removal improves. That's why when my patient reintroduced red grapes strategically, not excessively, his lab values stabilized within months. But let me be very clear. Red grapes are powerful, but they are not the full story, because there is another factor one most people overlook completely that can either amplify the benefits of foods like red grapes or cancel them out entirely. And this next factor may be even more dangerous to your kidneys than sugar or salt. But just knowing about red grapes isn't enough, because what I'm about to explain next is something most people are doing every single day without realizing the damage it causes. After talking about red grapes, there's something very important I need to clarify. Because while red grapes help calm inflammation and protect the kidney filters, they don't solve one major problem that silently destroys kidney function over time: toxin buildup in the gut. And that's where apples come in. Most people think apples are boring, too simple, too common, but in kidney health, simple is often what works best. I remember a woman in her late 50s who came to me frustrated and confused. She was doing everything right. Low salt, moderate protein, plenty of water, yet she constantly felt tired, bloated, and mentally foggy. Her kidney labs were borderline, not terrible, but slowly drifting downward. When I asked about her digestion, she paused. Constipation, irregular bowel movements, gas. That's when I told her something most people never hear in a kidney clinic. Your kidneys suffer when your gut stops doing its job. Here's the science behind that. Your intestines are responsible for removing a large portion of metabolic waste. When digestion slows down, toxins that should leave through the stool get reabsorbed into the bloodstream. And guess who has to clean that mess up? Your kidneys. Apples are rich in soluble fiber, especially pectin. Pectin acts like a sponge inside your gut. It binds waste products, uremic toxins, and excess cholesterol, helping your body eliminate them before they ever reach the kidneys. Studies have shown that higher intake of soluble fiber is associated with lower levels of urea and creatinine, especially in people with early-stage kidney dysfunction. Less toxin load means less pressure on the kidneys to filter aggressively. That's huge. But apples don't stop there. They also contain quercetin, a powerful antioxidant with anti-inflammatory effects. Quercetin has been shown to reduce oxidative stress in kidney tissue and support healthy blood pressure regulation, another critical factor in preventing kidney decline. And yes, apples contain sugar. But here's what most people misunderstand. The fiber in whole apples slows glucose absorption, preventing sharp blood sugar spikes. That's very different from fruit juice or processed snacks. When eaten, whole apples actually help stabilize blood sugar, and stable blood sugar means less damage to kidney blood vessels over time. Now let me be very specific about how to use apples correctly. 1 medium apple per day is enough. Not 3, not 5. Eat it with the skin on washed, of course, because that's where most of the fiber and antioxidants live. And timing matters. I usually recommend apples in the late morning or early afternoon when digestion is strongest. Eating them late at night, especially for people with weak kidneys, can cause bloating and fermentation, which creates more toxins, not fewer. The woman I mentioned earlier made just one change, 1 apple a day consistently for 6 weeks. Her digestion improved first, then her energy. And when we rechecked her labs, her kidney markers had stabilized for the first time in over a year. That's not magic. That's physiology working the way it was designed to. But here's the part most people don't expect. Even with apples helping your gut and red grapes calming inflammation, there is still one daily habit that can quietly undo all of these benefits, and almost no one talks about it. Because it doesn't come from food. And if this habit continues long enough, it can determine whether your kidneys stay stable or whether you eventually face dialysis. But before we get to that, there's one more food, far more controversial, that we need to talk about next. After apples help clean the gut and reduce the toxin load your kidneys have to handle, there's another layer we need to protect the kidney cells themselves. Because even when fewer toxins reach the kidneys, damage can still happen at the cellular level, quietly and continuously. And this is where blueberries make a real difference. I often tell my patients this: if your kidneys could ask for one fruit, it would be blueberries. A few years ago, I worked with a man in his early 60s. His kidney numbers weren't alarming yet, but his blood pressure was stubbornly high, and he had early signs of vascular damage. He exercised. He ate clean. But his labs kept inching in the wrong direction. When we reviewed his diet closely, one thing stood out: almost no antioxidant-rich foods. That matters more than most people realize. Your kidneys are packed with tiny blood vessels. Over time, oxidative stress damages these vessels, making filtration less efficient. Once that damage accumulates, kidneys don't bounce back easily. Blueberries are one of the most concentrated natural sources of anthocyanins, the compounds that give them their deep blue color. These compounds aren't just antioxidants in theory. They've been shown to reduce oxidative stress, improve endothelial function, and protect kidney tissue from inflammation-related injury. Several studies have linked regular blueberry consumption to lower blood pressure, improved insulin sensitivity, and reduced inflammatory markers. All three are major risk factors for kidney decline. But here's what makes blueberries special compared to many other fruits. They're low in potassium, which is critical for people with weakened kidney function. That means you get protection without overloading your system. Now, let me tell you something most people get wrong. They think more is better. It's not. A small handful, about half a cup a day, is enough. Fresh or frozen both work. Avoid dried blueberries or sweetened versions. Those spike sugar and cancel the benefit. I usually recommend blueberries in the morning or early afternoon, ideally with a small protein source like Greek yogurt or nuts to slow sugar absorption even further. One of my patients started adding blueberries to her breakfast 3 times a week. Not daily, not obsessively, just consistently. 3 months later, her blood pressure readings were finally under control, and that alone reduced the strain on her kidneys dramatically. Because here's the truth, high blood pressure is one of the fastest ways to destroy kidney function, and most people don't feel it happening. Blueberries don't replace medication when it's needed, but they support the systems that medication can't fully fix. However, I need to be very clear about something. Blueberries protect your kidneys from damage, apples reduce toxin overload, red grapes calm inflammation. Yet there is still one overlooked factor that can silently accelerate kidney failure even if your diet looks perfect on paper. It has nothing to do with sugar, it has nothing to do with salt, and almost everyone does it every single day without realizing the risk. That's why the next food and the habit that comes with it might be the most important part of this entire video. After blueberries protect kidney cells from oxidative damage, there's one more problem we need to address: what's forming inside your kidneys before you ever feel pain. And that problem is acid buildup and stone formation. This is where lemons quietly do something extraordinary. Most people think of lemons as just sour water. But for kidney health, lemons are less about taste and more about chemistry. I remember a patient in his early 50s who kept getting kidney stones. Over and over again. He drank plenty of water, avoided salt, even cut back on meat. Still, the stones came back. That's when I asked a question no one had asked him before. What does your urine pH look like? It was consistently acidic. Here's why that matters. When your body stays in a mildly acidic state, your kidneys have to work harder to maintain balance. Acidic urine also creates the perfect environment for calcium oxalate stones, the most common and painful type of kidney stone. Lemons are one of the richest natural sources of citrate. Citrate binds to calcium in the urine, preventing it from forming crystals. In simple terms, it stops stones before they start. Clinical studies have shown that people who regularly consume citrate, either from lemon juice or prescribed citrate therapy, have a significantly lower recurrence of kidney stones. But lemons don't just help with stones. They also support acid-base balance, reducing the long-term acid load your kidneys have to neutralize every single day. Less acid means less strain, and less strain means slower kidney decline. Now here's where most people make a big mistake. They drink lemon juice the wrong way. Chugging concentrated lemon water on an empty stomach can irritate digestion, damage tooth enamel, and even cause acid reflux, especially in people over 50. So let me be very clear about the right way. 1 to 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice in a large glass of water is enough. Sip it slowly, preferably in the morning or early afternoon, not late at night. And always rinse your mouth with plain water afterward to protect your teeth. I often suggest using a straw. It sounds small, but it makes a difference. One woman I worked with had early-stage kidney disease and a long history of stones. After adding diluted lemon water just 4 days a week, her urine citrate levels improved noticeably within 2 months. No drastic diet, no supplements, just consistency. But here's something even more important. Lemons help prevent stones and reduce acid stress, but they don't flush toxins out of your body by themselves. And this is where many people get a false sense of security. They think, I drink lemon water so my kidneys are safe. They're not if one daily habit continues, because there is a hidden trigger that silently dehydrates your kidneys, thickens your blood, and increases toxin concentration, even if you drink enough water and eat all the right foods. Most people do it first thing in the morning, and again in the afternoon. And if this habit isn't corrected, it can completely cancel out the benefits of lemons, blueberries, apples, and red grapes combined. But before we get to that final critical piece, there's one last fruit, simple, cheap, and shockingly misunderstood, that we need to talk about next. And this one may determine whether your kidneys stay stable or quietly cross a line you can't undo. After lemon helps reduce acid load and prevent stone formation, there's one final fruit I want to talk about. And this one surprises almost everyone. Because when people think about kidney health, pineapple is usually the first fruit they're told to avoid. Too sweet, too tropical, too risky. But that assumption is only half the story. And in kidney health, half the truth can be dangerous. I'm Dr. Johnny, and let me explain why pineapple, when used correctly, can actually reduce inflammation, ease digestion, and lower the burden on weakened kidneys, especially in people over 50. A few years ago, I had a patient in his early 60s with stage 2 kidney disease. His labs weren't critical yet, but his body was inflamed, joint pain, swelling, slow recovery, constant fatigue. He had already removed bananas, oranges, and several other fruits from his diet out of fear, but his inflammation markers stayed high. That's when we talked about pineapple. Pineapple contains bromelain, a powerful natural enzyme with well-documented anti-inflammatory effects. Bromelain helps break down protein residues, reduce tissue swelling, and support circulation. 3 things that matter deeply when kidney filtration is under stress. Several studies have shown that bromelain can lower inflammatory cytokines and improve recovery in people with chronic inflammatory conditions. And chronic inflammation is one of the silent accelerators of kidney damage. But that's not all. Pineapple is also low in potassium compared to many other fruits, making it a safer option for people who need to manage potassium intake carefully. Now here's the critical part, because this is where most people go wrong. Pineapple is not a free fruit. Portion and timing matter more than the fruit itself. A small serving, about half a cup of fresh pineapple, is enough. Not canned, not dried, not blended with sugar. Fresh, whole pineapple only, and timing is everything. I recommend pineapple earlier in the day, ideally after a light meal. Eating it late at night can spike blood sugar and disrupt sleep, which indirectly stresses the kidneys. When my patient added pineapple twice a week, just twice, something interesting happened. His digestion improved first, less bloating, less heaviness after meals. Then his inflammation markers began to drop, and most importantly, his kidney numbers stabilized instead of continuing their slow decline. That's when he said something that stuck with me. No one ever explained food like this before. I was afraid of the wrong thing. And that's the real danger, fear without understanding. Because pineapple, when eaten incorrectly, can raise blood sugar and add stress. But when eaten correctly, it helps your body resolve inflammation instead of fighting it all day long. And kidneys love balance. If you've made it this far, I want you to know something very important. You're already doing the hardest part, which is choosing to care. Kidney health doesn't collapse overnight, and it doesn't recover overnight either. It's shaped by small, quiet decisions you make every single day. The fruit you choose in the morning, the water you drink, the habits you decide to keep or finally let go of. And even if your kidneys feel weak right now, it does not mean you're out of time. The body has an incredible ability to stabilize, to heal, and to slow damage when it's supported the right way. I made this video because too many people only learn about their kidneys when it's already late. You don't have to be one of them. If this information helped you, please save this video so you can come back to it later or share it with someone you love who may need it more than they realize. And if you want to keep learning simple science-backed ways to protect your kidneys, reduce inflammation, and stay independent as you age, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I post new medical insights regularly, explained clearly and honestly, so you can take care of your health with confidence, not fear. Remember this, your kidneys are quiet organs, but they matter every minute of your life. Treat them gently, support them consistently, and they can serve you well for many years to come. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. One better choice one morning, habit one informed decision at a time. I'm Dr. Johnny, and I'll be here to guide you. Take care of your kidneys and take care of yourself. But now I need you to pay close attention. Because even if you eat pineapple the right way, even if you use lemons, blueberries, apples, and red grapes correctly, there is still one daily habit, not a food, that can quietly undo everything we've talked about. It thickens your blood, it concentrates toxins, and over time it can push your kidneys from stable into irreversible decline. Most people do it without realizing. Doctors rarely warn about it clearly. And this final piece may determine whether your kidneys stay functional for years or whether dialysis enters the conversation sooner than anyone expects. So stay with me, because what comes next might be the most important part of this entire video.